scammer. L scammer.
What's good, YouTube? Back at it again with another video. I'm here watching what's my dog name? Marquise Brownlee. If you don't know who that is, he basically they send him things or he buys them and he basically inspects them and sees the quality and how good the device is. Basically he checks on devices and stuff like that to make sure it's good. Basically puts us on how good it is. You feel me? Here with my brother once again, Vexo. Say what's good.
Yep.
Yes, sir. And today it's about the Nintendo Switch 2. I know we've been, watching a lot of Nintendo Switch videos. I got some TikTok videos out there, some reels. You feel me? We're immersed inside we're immersed in the Nintendo Switch 2 community, bro. Cause not only
In the Switch first. In the Switch
we're
first.
ready for the games, but we're ready for our pockets to cry. So yeah, let's go. Let's lock in.
Now the question is, are you ready for
Yo,
your
I'm
pockets to cry?
Yep.
Oh, y'all
Kib
ready
HD
for
here.
y'all pockets.
Welcome to your first look and hands-on with the Nintendo
Okay.
Switch 2. And this is everything you need to know. It's obviously one of the hottest and most
How big is this
What am
dude's
I looking
hands?
at?
Nintendo Switch 2. And this is everything you
How big is this guy's hand, bro?
need to know. It's obviously one of the hottest and most anticipated new consoles in a
That's the new controller.
And it's like 120.
long time. So when Nintendo invited me to this little hands-on in New York City with a few other YouTubers, obviously, I said yes. So the first Switch, I don't know if you remember, came out in
Casey just chilling. Casey just chilling in the back.
Yo,
2017.
Y'all know,
So
y'all know.
naturally, almost a decade later, there's a bunch of stuff that people, including myself, a mere casual, have been waiting for this to be updated. And spoiler alert, they basically, I think, hit every single one of those things. But there is one big asterisk kind of overhanging all of it. So general form factor wise, this shape, very familiar. It looks like a Switch. Like you've probably already seen the images online, but it is noticeably bigger. So it's the same thickness as the first generation, but it feels thinner because everything's kind of spread out more. It's bigger. The body's bigger, the Joy-Cons are bigger, and it's mostly driven by this big new screen. So it's now a 7.9-inch display up front, up from 6.2. And this is still an LCD, but it's now a 1080p variable refresh rate LCD that gets up to 120 hertz, and it just looks so much better than the original Switch. It looks plenty bright to me, too. It supports HDR as well. Notably, it's not an OLED, though, so it doesn't have the perfectly inky blacks or the battery life advantages that come with an OLED. I do kind of think that we're eventually also going to see a Switch 2 OLED. I think that makes sense. It'll probably be in a few years. There's probably also going to be a Switch 2 Lite in a few years as well. Doesn't mean you have to wait for those. It's just something to keep in mind in the back of your head. But yeah, I'm definitely loving the variable refresh rate up to 120 hertz. Every game they're showing here takes advantage of it. You know how iPhone defenders always love to say, oh, people can't tell the difference between 60 and 120 hertz. It's no big deal. But, high refresh.
I feel like that's most likely the reason why.
I mean, you could definitely tell the difference with it being 30 FPS.
Yeah, for sure.
So
That's probably the
guess.
big reason why it's priced right now. But Donald Trump has been bugging, so that's probably another reason why the thing went up.
Rate and gaming go hand in hand, so I think a lot of people will appreciate the smoother games and potentially also the smoother UI that comes with it. So the screen is the biggest improvement. Now there are some other, nice quality of life improvements here, like the full width kickstand that lets you prop it up at a pretty wide variety of angles, including almost all the way down, similar to the Switch OLED. But they added another port up to the top as well, and that makes it easier to charge while the console's kind of sitting on a
Okay.
that's a nice addition.
C-port charger up there, okay.
table
Yeah,
or something,
yeah,
since
that
that
would
was a
be-
pain before. And it's also perfect for the additional USB Type-C accessories, which I'll get to in a second. But I think the other obvious biggest upgrade is the new Joy-Cons. So many things are better about these new Joy-Cons. First of all, they are bigger, like everything else, which ergonomically is very welcome. The left and right sticks are larger
looks
too.
weird.
There's a new C button down here for game chat, which I will also get to in a second.
Oh,
And then they connect to the
okay.
main console with magnets
for cap-
in a really satisfying way. They basically just slap right onto the side and line up automatically. No slide necessary.
Okay, so
Love a
that's
good magnet. You get them off by holding
Ah. So there is a
this release button here, which is literally just a lever that pushes the Joy-Con off the side of the Switch. And I think it's really nicely calibrated. If you just touch the release button but don't pull, the Joy-Con actually pushes off but then snaps right back on because the magnet is so strong. But if you release and pull, then it just pops off really easily, and then you
That's
can snap
cool.
it back on whenever you want with a nice click.
Meet the new standard in sleep. This is Pod 4 Ultra. It's not a bed, it's a revolution in the sleep game.
Now, the neat thing is, most of the Joy-Con is still made of plastic to be lightweight, but at the top here, these SR and SL buttons, first of all, they are way bigger than last gen, but they're also actually made of the metal that the magnets in the console are attracted to. They're steel buttons. So that's why the connection between the Joy-Cons and the Switch are so strong. It's that metal right there. My only worry here is actually just durability. So you can see when you pull that Joy-Con off, you can see these pins on the Switch.
Yeah,
And I
see it
kind of
rusted
wonder
there.
how many little kids are going to bend those pins. Like, there is a tiny bit of wiggle actually built in to hopefully make it not
What
snap
did we
too
say in the
easily.
last
But
VOD?
yeah, there's no way to tell until they start shipping these to real people and we start seeing the stories rolling in, but I'm going to keep an eye on that. Oh, and there's also stronger feeling haptics. They're called HD Rumble 2. The Rumble Pack is directly attached to the plastic in the
So
back of
it's
the Joy-Cons.
rumbling.
They feel nice and strong, a little bit more precise too, so that's really nice. And then lastly, each Joy-Con can also be used as a mouse in supporting games.
Oh,
I
yeah,
did
it
not
is
see this
for
one
sure,
coming.
yeah.
It's
That's
kind of
nice.
interesting idea, but basically there's a small optical sensor on the side of the Joy-Con. So if you turn that Joy-Con horizontally and place that sensor down on a table, you can move it around like
Yeah, you didn't see it on the.
I
trailer?
did, but I didn't think
Release
about it
video?
like that.
It wasn't showing drifting for no reason.
Wow.
a mouse, even rotate it, and that acts as yet another input method that apparently certain games will work pretty well with. I was doing this demo of a wheelchair basketball game, and so it ended up being pretty intuitive. You kind of hold the triggers and push forward, and you would move forward in the game. Never would have thought it would work so well, but there's a good amount of sensitivity. Apparently, you can do this while swiping forward on your jeans and your lap too, if you wanted to. Other surfaces should work as well. In the Nintendo Direct live stream, they also showed this other golf game where you move the putter around and rotate it and then make a stroke using the mouse motion, all on a table like a mouse. So yeah, I guess that makes sense. We'll see what other games end up using this control. Now, we didn't get a whole lot of other specifics like the chip it's running or even how much RAM it has, which admittedly, a lot of Switch buyers just don't care about. But one big spec that they did improve is they've gone from 32 gigs of storage on the original Switch to 256 gigs of storage. And the storage is faster. So I
200 and
100 and what gigs? 28.
Yeah, something like that. 60,
That's
something,
fine.
28, I don't know.
definitely appreciate
That's definitely a big upgrade.
this. You can see my Switch home screen behind me. I could only fit 3 games on my Switch because one of them was Rocket League and it was like 17 gigs. But I also think this will directly relate to how much larger Switch 2 games will probably be. So 256 gigs will feel in line with the larger file sizes, bigger textures, higher resolution and all that.
Yeah,
Switch 2 games will
Mario
probably
Kart
also
will
be
be
bigger
more
too.
world.
So thankfully there is still micro SD card support. It lives right here under the hinge again, and you'll specifically have to get a micro SD express card to play games off it on the Switch 2. But I think generally they'll be pretty easy to find. I already saw Lexar is going to be making a 1 terabyte micro SD card just for the Switch 2, so that's awesome. Now the Switch isn't a Switch without the dock, and the new dock supports 4K resolution out to a TV. Love to see that. There's actually also a fan
Whoa.
in the Switch 2 dock
The heck?
that turns on while it's docked. So while it's cranking out that extra
looks like-
resolution,
you know what it looks like? It looks like a Nintendo 64.
it doesn't get too
That
hot.
thing is freaking
But from
beautiful.
there, I feel like all of the new
It does look
software
like an
features
N64.
have a bit of a theme. This Switch 2 feels like a much
Got that little
more
fat shape.
social console. Like there was, I think Nintendo saw a ton of success with the original Switch and started thinking about more ways to make it a better experience, because now there are going to be groups of people where several of them have a Switch. So when you hit that new C button on the Joy-Con, it brings up this new menu called Game Chat. So they didn't let us do this in the demos that I tried today, but in Nintendo Direct, you can see the idea is if you have some friends on other Switches gaming at the same time as you, you can all turn your mics on and talk to each other, or even turn screen sharing on to see each other's gameplay live, which is cool. I know a lot of people do FaceTime while gaming and kind of want to combine the whole experience. So I personally probably wouldn't do this, but I totally get it. And it's funny, it was actually refreshing seeing this in Nintendo's official footage. You can see the gameplay from other people as you're watching it it's kind of laggy and it's kind of low resolution, but it's totally fine. Like, this makes me believe more that what we're seeing here is exactly how it'll look. Like, Nintendo didn't want to make any fake promises like, oh, it'll be 1080p when you watch other people game. But hey, at least you'll have an idea of what's going on their screen, so that's cool. But not only that, if you get this optional accessory here, which is called the Switch 2 camera, this little thing plugs into that top port on the Switch when you're docked, or I think you can even plug it straight into the dock itself. And when you point it at yourself, it can automatically cut you out from the background and put your face next to your gameplay. So it literally feels like a gaming version of a Zoom call or something. Like, everyone can see their friends' faces and their friends' reactions to the games in real time. And some games will even integrate that feed a little more, like putting your face over where an avatar would normally be. It's like video chatting while playing a game. It's not going to be the highest fidelity thing ever, but it'll be a sort of extra layer on top and makes it feel more social. So game chat is cool when you're in multiple different places, but there's also going to be situations where multiple people are all gaming in the same physical place with Switches. And so they built a feature just for that, which is being able to share a game with other people who don't have it yet, up to 3 other people. So one Switch 2 is the host, and then up to 3 other Switches, they don't have to have the game installed at all. It's just one guy goes, all right, guys, I'll have this game. We're all going to play it in the same room. And every one of you now temporarily has this game, and you can play your own perspective of the multiplayer or whatever without having to buy or install the whole thing at that moment. I'm not sure exactly how long it'll take to set up or like exactly which games will support it, but a Switch 2 can host, and then up to 3 other Switches can join. It's called Game Share. I like it a lot. And then actually, speaking of games, there's basically going to be 3 types of games for the Switch 2. There will be native Switch 2 games. And those are the ones that are the most optimized and should look the best with the best graphics, potentially taking the most advantage of the extra features and game chat and mouse controls. Then there will be Switch 1 games, some of which will be compatible with the Switch 2, just might not look as good. And then there will be Switch 1 games that get kind of remastered or updated for the Switch 2. So like a Switch 2 version of the game. So hopefully you don't have to pay a full price for a whole new game. You'll pay a smaller amount for an updated version of the game for the Switch 2. But I think that pretty conveniently brings us to the big asterisk hovering over all of this, which is pricing. See, the Switch 2 is going to start off at $449.
That changed?
Yeah, that literally changed.
So 10 years ago, I bet my life savings on oatmeal. I mean, people definitely told me I was crazy.
I just like
in the US.
That boy like $700 right now.
Now, I've seen mixed reactions to that price. Obviously, the Switch 1 was amazing. It was $300, but that was almost 10 years ago. So now, you know, new specs and updates and inflation and tariffs and all of that, to me, actually makes $449 feel like a pretty reasonable price. The Switch 2 camera accessory is $50. Feels about right. There's also a new Switch 2 Pro controller with new back buttons, plus a headphone jack, and of course the added C button. That'll be around $80. But then the game pricing is where they start to lose people a little bit. It's reported that Switch 2 games are going to be around $80 just for a digital download Switch 2 game. $90 if you want the physical version. That definitely feels really high. There are so many great PC and console games, and even Switch 1 games in the store in like the $50 to $60 range right now. NBA 2K25 is like my staple for an expensive game. That's $70 on the PS5. So pushing that up again, $80 to $90 for a Switch 2 game does feel kind of like it's pushing it. And then they also announced this really smart looking demo game called Welcome Tour that basically walks you through all of the features and lets you demo everything and really get to know the Switch 2 well. Kind of reminds me of Astro's Playroom on the PlayStation 5, which did the exact same thing, helped you learn what the DualSense controller was capable of. And that was free. That actually came pre-installed on the PS5 at launch. And Nintendo has even done Wii Sports in the past, which was a free demo game that came on the Nintendo Wii and low-key turned out to be one of the greatest games of all time. The Nintendo Switch 2 demo game, though, is paid. It's not included for free. It's going to be like 10 or 20 bucks or something like that in the store. But even just having it paid at all, to me, seems like a huge miss. That's going to be so many people that are not going to experience it, that are not going to be able to fully walk through it and understand and get to know their Switch 2, because no one's going to go buy that demo game. I don't know what they were thinking there. Other than that, though, the Switch 2 seems pretty sweet. Not gonna lie, I really like it. There's a reason the original Switch was one of the best selling consoles of all time. It was well priced, great form factor, very versatile. For me, the perfect airplane game console. I would say the signs are pointing to Switch 2 also being really good again. But there are also definitely some things we still don't know. Like, for example, we obviously don't know the chip and the RAM. We do know it's confirmed that there is some amount of DLSS happening. I would assume that to do 4K on a TV, there's some amount of upscaling happening. We just don't know exactly how much yet. But then also battery life. How similar or different will battery life potentially be from the first Switch? You know, having a bigger, higher refresh rate, higher resolution screen tends to eat battery life, but it's also bigger, so the battery capacity can be bigger, so maybe it just balances out and it's similar. TBD. I don't think fast charging is announced or anything crazy like that. But then also things like durability and whether they fix Joy-Con drift or not. These are all things that are TBD and that I think would be great to find out for a full review. So maybe get subscribed if you're interested in seeing something like that, to be among the first to see it. And let me know in the comments down below what else you want to see. Now, if you're one of those people who's just going to pre-order no matter what, then I highly recommend checking out the Kill Switch from channel sponsor Dbrand. See, originally the Kill Switch line was developed.
All right.
What is that?
I don't know this. I don't want to know.
What in the world is that?
That was the video. You feel me? I feel like he had good intakes on the information and describing what the Nintendo Switch is gonna come with when the people purchase it. And I agree. I agree with him fully. Those prices is kind of crazy, and you know the specs and the thing. You feel me? It looks good, but we always say that. For me, we gotta find out
Until we get it.
until we get it. But without further ado, chat. Without further ado, YouTube. Thank you for watching. Hope you guys like and subscribe. Tune into the videos, turn on that bell, and you know, follow me on my social medias. Just stay tuned. Peace.